Does money cause you stress? Like when the topic of money comes up or you have to sit down and budget yet again for another paycheck, does it just feel dreadful? Well, today I'm going to be talking about how a budget can actually reverse that feeling. Instead of feeling dread every time you hear the word money, you can actually be at peace and be able to make calm financial decisions that will actually take you places. So, go get your drink, open your heart to God, and let's dive in. If you're ready to build wealth, ensure financial security, stop overspending, and finally create a budget you can stick to, you mama are in the right place. Hi, I'm Molly, a budget coach and financial strategist who went from living paycheck to paycheck to paying off debt, saving money, and going on vacation, all by budgeting. And I help mamas just like you budget and create God-centered systems and routines so that you too can have financial freedom. Now stop pinching those pennies and let's dive in. I don't know about you, but I am tired of DIYing things. I know it's supposed to save money, but does it really? Have you looked at the true cost of what it actually takes to DIY something? You have to weigh not only your money, but your time as well, your well-being, your emotional state, the pressure that it can put on you. Now, I'm not saying that DIYing is not smart because I still do it all the time. But on fun projects and projects like remodeling the house where I physically do not have the finances to be able to cover the costs, I DIY things that I am deeply invested in, that I want to learn more of, meaning I'm going to take action on the things that I learn, because learning without action is simply filling your brain with knowledge that you're going to forget in roughly 30 minutes unless you start putting it into action. So I want to ask you, how invested are you in whipping your budget into shape? Do you take action right away once you've learned something new, or do you keep learning and binging whatever you're listening to? I want to invite you out of the DIYing your budget phase and into getting the support and actionable steps you need to get your budget at a place you can actually start saving money. I want to invite you to invest in yourself and your family so that you can get out of debt and start doing the fun things that you have been dreaming of doing. Can you figure this budgeting thing out on your own? Totally. I have faith in you. But why do it alone when you can get the help and support you need now so that you can start reaching your goals today instead of someday in the future? I want to invite you to look into budget coaching to see what one call can do for you, can do for your family. So send an email to mollybennell@gmail.com. That's MOLLY, B as in boy, ENELL @gmail.com. And together, let's get your budget working for you, not against you. I used to worry about money all the time. We started out our marriage together with a air quote real or traditional budget that I spent hours creating. I mean, I enjoyed making this thing because I love to build things. I love to create things. And it was this huge, elaborate spreadsheet where one sheet would go to another sheet and it would add things up, and then you could see everything on one final sheet all put together that you added in. And it was so fun to make. It took me hours to make this spreadsheet. But then when it came time to using it, it was extremely time consuming. The traditional way of budgeting, like having to write down every little single expense, just wore me out, and I didn't want to do it. And then we didn't do it until the end of the month instead of as we went. So we didn't actually know if we were spending the money the way we planned it or if it was just willy-nilly the way we wanted to. Like, there was no rhyme or reason. I mean, I was also new at budgeting, so it might be different now. But it's still something that I don't want to do, and I know it's something that you don't want to do, right? So when I quit my job and became a stay-at-home mom, we air quote budgeted by making sure that bills were paid first, and then all of the important things came out next before we would start spending, or free spending, I'm going to say, our money, right? And that is something, I do have an episode on how to do that if that is the phase that you are currently in, to help you just rein in your spending right now so that you know that you're going to be able to pay your bills and everything, right? But it's not where I want you to sit. It's not a way of air quote budgeting that's actually a budget that's going to get you places, that's going to take away the stress, right? This is not a way of true budgeting. It's going to continue to keep you in that paycheck to paycheck lifestyle. Now, yes, it's nice to have, and I do implement that rule in parts of my budget. So I am not saying throw that rule away, because it is a really good rule. But if that is the only way you are budgeting, if that is your whole system all in all, you aren't going to be building wealth on it. You aren't going to feel like you can build wealth or you can start saving, because you're going to be stuck in that feast or famine lifestyle where one week you have a lot of money because there was only 2 bills that came out, and another week you're going to have nothing left over because your mortgage came out and those other really big bills came out, and all that you could cover under that paycheck was bills, right? And that's not something I want for you. I want you to have consistency. I want you to be able to have a plan in place that's going to make sure that you are able to cover your bills, to cover your other needs and necessities to live, to build wealth, to have fun money, to do all these things, reach your financial goals, pay off debt, and everything in between. And that is what today's episode is about. That is why I am sharing with you 6 things that a budget can do that will bring you peace. And I did kind of just touch on one, and I realized I should have put that in as another topic, but that's consistency, right? Budgeting brings you consistency. So put that in there as a bonus. Don't forget about it. Make sure that you're writing these things down so you don't forget about them and you can actually start implementing them, right? Because that is the key in this whole thing. I can talk to you about budgeting until I'm blue in the face, but if you don't start putting this stuff into action, it's going to get you nowhere, right? So write this stuff down. Pick one. I don't want you to do all of them because it will be overwhelming if you try to do every single one at once, right? But pick one and run with it. So now that we know that budgeting brings consistency, and I went through the little caveat that I wanted to make sure that you actually implement this stuff, right? Let's get into the 6 ways that a budget can bring you peace. So the first thing is a budget gives you a plan. That's essentially what a budget is. It is a plan. It allows you to work towards something. It is a focus. It allows you to know where your money is going because you have a goal for every single dollar. It's not just, oh yeah, I want to do this and it's a pipe dream and it's a dream instead of an actual goal, right? You haven't put a plan behind reaching that goal. And so every single penny should have a purpose. It should have somewhere that it needs to go. Now, whether that is being spent, whether that's being saved, whether that's being put towards a financial goal, that doesn't matter. But you need to know where your money is going and what it's going to do for you, right? And that's going to give you peace because when those times come up, because you know what's going to happen, and you want to buy something and you're out of your so-called spending money or wherever you can freely spend from, you will know what you are taking that money away from, right? You will be able to physically see that you are pulling money out of the bill account to buy this thing, and you'll be able to make a strong, confident financial decision saying, no, I can't do that, or my bills won't be paid. So I'm going to have to wait to buy this thing until the next paycheck kind of thing. And it's going to make it so much easier, which takes me into the second thing. You have spending freedom. Now, I know a lot of people feel like having a budget keeps you from having spending freedom, but it doesn't. It gives you the spending freedom because you know how much money you can spend on what, where, for how many things. You have free money to work with if that's something that you want in your budget. But you also know that if you spend this money freely on whatever it is that you want, it can potentially affect other important things like your bills, like the food or the gas that you need. If you just willy-nilly spend without a plan, you're not going to know what those free spending things are going to take away from. And that brings you peace, knowing that you're not going to spend money that you need, right? Now, that doesn't mean it's not going to be hard because, yeah, sometimes you don't have a lot of money during a paycheck period, or if you decide to change jobs and it's a lower paying job, right? You do have to take pay cuts, and that spending money, that free spending money, is usually the first thing to go. And so, yeah, it is going to be hard. But that's something that you need to decide. Do you want to build wealth, or do you want to be able to freely spend in the moment? You can't have both, but you can have one or the other. And that is a decision that you have to make. What decision, what goal do you actually want? What is actually a priority? Now, I'm not going to say that you not saving up for the future, as long as you have an emergency account in place, right? Like, I want you to get that built up first. But if you have that in place and you know that you don't really need to save up for this stuff and it's just fun money that you're saving up, then by all means, use it as free spending money, right? That is your choice. You and your husband get to decide where this money goes. I'm not going to tell you you can't have spending money. Like, no, that is not the case. But if you want to build financial wealth, spending money usually is not the way to go. So you have to decide, do you want the spending money or do you want to build wealth? Is there a way that you can have both? Is it going to affect you in the future for what you actually want to save up for, right? You have to look at all the costs and weigh the costs and see what is the right move for you and your family. And you're not going to be able to do that if you don't have a plan. You have to have a budget in place so that you know how much of your money has to go towards needs, has to go towards your bills, towards food, towards gas, towards all that stuff that is just simply living from month to month, so that you know how much money you have remaining to put towards everything else. Whether that is a goal of financial spending freedom or building wealth, it's totally up to you. Okay, so the third thing that will bring you peace is making sure that there's margin in your budget. Margin, simply put, is just that there's a cushion in your weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly paycheck, however you get paid, right? But it's making sure that you are not spending every single dollar, because that is how you know that you are safe, per se, right? It keeps money in your budget and you don't spend every last dollar. Like, that is where that freedom comes, that peace comes, so that you know that when life comes, you have the finances to cover it. But it also means that you know that you can start building wealth. Or, like I said earlier, if your goal is to just spend the money on fun stuff in the moment, then you can, right? Whatever your goal is, you just need to look at what you want for the future, versus whether it outweighs what you want right now, right? So that is something that you just have to look at, and keeping margin in your budget so you're not spending. And when I say spending, I mean spending it on bills, putting your money into things that you can't take it out of, right? In the moment spending is not really that kind of thing. But if you decide that you're going to buy a new car and then have credit card debt on top of it, and then on top of that, because you need a new table, you take that out on loan, right? And you just continue to get loan on top of loan on top of loan, then you are going to put yourself in a hard spot. And I don't want that for you. That is not where peace comes from. That is where stress and overwhelm come from, because you know you have to get it paid, or there will be consequences depending on what the thing is that you decide not to pay that month, right? So margin is so important, and the margin is where you reach your financial goals. The margin is where you're able to pay for the things that you want without having to get a loan. So you need to become best friends with margin, with keeping money in your budget, so that you are able to live in peace, but also reach your financial goals and dreams. Okay, number 4 is to prevent overspending. If you want peace, you need to prevent the overspending if that's something that you find an issue with. Now, there are many ways you can do this, and I'm not going to tell you to cut out your spending because that's going to be hard. It's like quitting cold turkey. I'm going to tell you to figure out a system or a strategy, or set a boundary, put something in place to prevent that from happening, right? If every time you go into the store, you have to buy something that is extra, don't go into the store. Do Walmart pickup order. Ask somebody else to pick it up for you instead of you going in, right? If there's something like you like to get gifts, right? You like to give gifts to other people, and you like to make sure that you have enough gifts on hand. Well, put a limit on it. Do you really need 50 gifts sitting in the closet or wherever you store it in a tote, waiting and just getting covered in dust because they're not being used? Instead, say maybe 10 gifts, 5 for adults, 5 for kids kind of thing. And just go from there. When you use one, you can buy another one. So there's still that freedom to spend, but you're putting a limit on it, a cap on it, to keep you from overspending on things, right? There are so many more ways that you can do this, that you can put this stuff into place, and it doesn't have to be stressful. It can be peaceful, and it can feel really good. It's just something you have to think about and you have to keep track of, right? So then going into the 5th thing, a budget will bring you peace through confidence. Well, it'll bring you peace and confidence, with saving, right? So when you're able to save, which comes from having margin in your budget, you're able to plan for unexpected expenses. You're able to cover those things that life throws at you that you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this was a thing. And there are so many other things that sometimes unexpected expenses, which I am going to go down this rabbit hole for a little minute, is things that you do know happen. You just haven't written them down because you didn't know. Well, you did know, but you didn't think about it. It's like a yearly thing that comes, like Christmas, but Christmas is a big one, so you know that you need to start saving up for it. But it's essentially like Christmas, where it's a yearly thing and you know you need to start saving up for it. Well, there are lots of other things in life, in the activities that you do, in the things that you do that you know you're going to have to do sometime next year. You're going to have to pay for it, buy it again, but you don't think about it, so you don't save up for it until that time comes, and then you're scrambling trying to figure out where that money's coming from, right? And so those can be covered by setting up sinking funds, right? And that can take away a whole bunch of stress. So then when it comes to unexpected expenses, they are true unexpected expenses that come up that life throws at you, like a funeral that you need to go to, like all of a sudden a pair of shoes that you didn't know you needed to take care of you need to buy, or something appliance-wise decides to go out on you and you need to cover that, right? Or some new event comes up and you go to put on a dress and you're like, oh, well, this dress doesn't fit anymore because, I've had 3 babies and my body has changed. So those are the things that are true unexpected expenses, and they allow you the freedom to be able to take care of them without stressing over it when you have that margin and the ability to save. You also, by saving, are able to build and implement financial security. And what I mean here is you can start saving up for unexpected expenses, which is the account for emergencies, right? You can save up, I like to say, a $2,000 little emergency fund. And then once you've gotten that, you can slowly start saving up, like Dave Ramsey says, for 6 to, I don't remember, but 6 months of expenses for if you were to lose your job, kind of thing, so that you have that nest egg. And if something were to happen, you know that your bills would be taken care of for at least 6 months, kind of thing. And that is where that financial security comes from. But it also comes from being confident in your financial decisions, knowing that what action you want to take, how it's going to affect the rest of the month or the rest of the pay cycle, however you budget, right? You know that everything's going to be okay, and that financial security just makes things feel so much, I don't want to say easier, because it can still be extremely hard to budget sometimes, but it makes it easier to see what is going to be affected. And I hope that that's kind of the reoccurring theme right here, right now, is when you can visibly see something, you are able to know the effect that it's going to have on the things in the future, right? And so it also helps you just make strong financial goals too. What goals are you actually able to reach? What goals need to be reached right now? And what goals need to be held into the future? It just makes that decision making so much easier. Okay, so the 6th way that a budget can give you peace is by giving you hope and faith for the future. Now, this might not exactly feel like it's part of the budget, but it's essentially by praying over your plan, praying over your budget, and submitting it to God. And even before you create the budget, inviting Him in to guide your steps, guide your thoughts, guide your actions, guide creating the thing in the first place. And then at the end of it, submitting it to Him, you're able to have hope and faith for the future because you're not doing it alone. You're budgeting with God. And yes, this is kind of like a side thing. It's not something that the budget gives you itself, but it's something that God gives you, right? But it's so important. And it's an extremely important part of the budgeting system that I share. And I didn't want to leave it out. So I wanted to make sure that you understood that peace from budgeting doesn't necessarily come from the physical thing itself, even though all these things that I just went through are extremely important and are so helpful. But your true peace with your budget, with your finances, with everything that it is that you do, comes from doing it with God. And He is the one that's going to guide your steps along the way as long as you invite Him in and allow Him to do it, right? If you try to do it in your own strength, it's going to be so much harder. And I'm not going to say that by doing it with God and inviting Him in, it's going to be easy. but things are going to flow much smoother if you're doing them with God versus if you're doing them yourself. And I know that from experience with everything that I do. When I invite Him in, I'm able to just fly through whatever it is that I'm working on. And when I'm doing it in my own strength, it's like, I don't know, I have to like grit my teeth and just struggle through the mud and going nowhere, essentially, right? So if you want true peace in your budget, doing it with God is the way to go. It's going to give you that hope. It's going to strengthen your faith, and it's going to allow you to be able to reach and achieve things that you never thought were possible, because in your own strength, a lot of things that we want are not possible. But in God's strength and in His time, everything and anything is possible. So make sure that you remember that, write that down. If that is the first and only thing that you take away from this episode, then I will have succeeded, because that is going to do so much more for you than everything else. Now, when you pair it all together, it will make things change immensely for you. But if all you do is take away from this episode is to pray over your plan and then submit it to God, then I will be happy and content. Okay, so with that being said, this is what I do. I help you create this budget. I help you plan. I help you decide what kind of goals you want. Do you want to build wealth, or do you want to have the ability to spend on the things that are going on in life, right? How do you get margin? I will help you build that margin into your budget. I will help you set boundaries, create systems and routines, and strategize to help keep you on budget and from overspending if that is a struggle that you have, which all of us have. So even those who like to save, I am a saver, but I still find myself overspending on things, right? If you want the ability to save for unexpected expenses, for financial security, I help you set that up with my budgeting system. So if you would like to learn more about my budget coaching and how one call can change your whole entire budgeting system and make it work for you instead of against you, then I want you to reach out to me and send an email to mollybennell@gmail.com. So that's MOLLY, B as in boy, ENELL @gmail.com. And you can get your questions answered if you have further questions. Now, if you would like to just buy the thing, right, just go ahead and get a call booked before it's too late, or you feel like it's too late, right? And something else happens and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do, because I have been there. I'm the one that waits on buying things. And then by the time I'm ready to buy it, something's happened, right? And I can't buy it anymore. So if you want to just dive in and get some budget coaching right now, you can go to Calendly, www.calendly.com/mollybennell, and you can book your call right now. So I hope that this episode has opened your eyes to how budgeting actually brings you peace instead of stress and overwhelm, and how you can get that set up right now. Hey mama, I pray that today's episode has inspired you and grew you. If so, will you please share it with that friend who is praying for a budget breakthrough, and leave a rating and review so that you can help get the podcast out to other mamas struggling with their budget. Also, get some support for yourself by joining my free Facebook group and becoming an insider, where you get weekly support emails and are the first to find out when something new is on its way. You can find the links in the show notes, and I will see you right back here next Tuesday.